guys, so it has been a very long time since I've last uploaded, so I thought I would kind of give you guys a life update. I'm alive, it's just that I was not in the best of mental and physical state to do anything at that point. I had my third child in the early stages of 2020, and she was born right around the time where things went from epidemic to pandemic. And the problem that happened was that because things just kind of happened really quickly. The week that my daughter was born, I was admitted to the hospital, and at this point, people weren't not everybody was wearing masks. Only some of those that were wearing masks. And then I got out of the hospital, and by this time, everybody was wearing masks. Nobody was actually outside. It was kind of interesting to kind of look outside from my hospital window because I would be able to see the station. And usually this station is pretty busy, and like literally nobody was walking. So I could seriously see the damages of the COVID-19. And also while I was in the hospital, the whole toilet paper diaper issue kind of happened, and I was totally late to the diaper game, but my daughter thankfully was a very tiny baby, so we could still buy a lot of newborn diapers, and that saved my life. But yeah, the day after I got discharged from the hospital, my eldest's kindergarten got shut down. And this really sucked because I was expecting to have my eldest at least in kindergarten so he would be able to use up all his energy because he is a very high energy boy. So I was stuck in the house. And we didn't live in a very large house, so, I was stuck in a very small space with 3 kids, and the more I tried to clean up, the more the boys would mess up because, they wanted to play and, have all their stress out. And having 2 boys in the house means a lot of, fighting. So my daughter was not getting a lot of sleep, and it was just causing more problems. My daughter was not malnourished by any means, but she ended up growing very small. Like she was very tiny for the first year of her life. And then once she started to eat solid foods much better, she finally got back on track. But she was towards the lower end when it came to how she was growing because she would get exhausted drinking milk after maybe 20 milliliters or 40 milliliters. And that kind of kept going until she was finally ready to completely wean off formula. And it sucked because I didn't want her to be too tiny, and she ended up being very, very tiny compared to her older 2 brothers. So yeah, there was a lot of worries in 2020. And because I wasn't really able to spend my time slowly in the house either, because I was constantly trying to clean up something that my eldest or my second child was making a mess out of, my body did not recover in 2020. And in 2021 it finally kind of did. Now in 2020, one of the things that did happen that was a highlight besides my daughter was that my second child entered kindergarten. And lots of things happened at this time where kindergarten was supposed to start in April and did not, and ended up in June. And my 2 boys went to kindergarten at different times because first year kindergartners went at 9 to 10:30, and then the third year kindergartners would go from 10 to 12. So it was very awkward, and it really was exhausting to take my kids to school. But it was, I guess that was the life where we all had to kind of sacrifice something to kind of go to school. So yeah, that was basically 2020, was just trying to figure out my crazy schedule. And then in 2021, or currently, my eldest entered elementary school. And there's a lot of issues that we do have with the Japanese educational system the more that we actually are experiencing it. And I think it's because my eldest kind of falls into the category of relatively smart, I guess, where elementary, he is a first grader, and the problem with being a first grader is that it's really the start of learning letters, and he's already learned his letters, so it's extremely annoying and boring for him to kind of do work. And he's also pretty smart in terms of math, and they're doing 1 + 1, 1 + 2, and then he's like being able to do multiplication tables. So it's definitely a struggle for him to kind of focus on work that's too easy, I guess. So there's a lot of attitude problems that we're kind of facing with him. And because he's entered elementary school, he's become a lot more stubborn and surprisingly more mischievous, I would say. So those are some of the things that we're kind of struggling with at this point. And yeah. In terms of journaling, as you can tell, I do still journal ever so often, but as you can tell from the curvature of this techo, I haven't really journaled that much. And the reason behind this is because we did actually move in this year, and the house is shaped very awkwardly to the point where you can't just buy any kind of furniture because it's not a 90-degree angle on the corners of the room, and it's just annoying to see this weird dead space. And we've already had this angle issue in the past house as well, but we didn't have as many prominent ones, and this house has so many corners that are just not 90-degree angles, and it's just it's been exhausting. And I'm still trying to recover from trying to figure out which we still have not bought like all the furniture that we need. So it still is a problem that we do face. And at this point, because I had so much, like I had enough of my stationery just in different areas because we didn't have, a proper place to store them. So I ended up buying one of those IKEA carts, and now I can finally journal like towards the end of this year. So that's a little bit of the ridiculous stuff that just kind of happened, I guess. Besides that, some of the other things that have changed, I would say, would be my everyday carries. I've kind of stopped using notebook type ones, and I've kind of started to focus more on using ring binders because I've noticed that because they're so highly customizable, they're just so much easier to use. To top it off, some of these are really tiny. So I do intend to talk about them in some future video probably because I have so many variations of this. I don't intend to talk too much about new stationery at this point because right now I'm really honestly trying to use up all the ones that I have right now. I feel like I have enough stationery at this point, and I just should be more creative with what I already have. So in the instance that I do buy new stationery, it would most likely be if I run out of one particular color because I use it so much. But besides that, I mean, like I have the material, so I might as well use them, and that's my goal for the time being, I guess. Besides journaling, I do want to talk a little bit more about, my life in general, which focuses a lot on my kids' education and how they kind of go about on their daily lives. I mean, their toys are pretty interesting as well because Japanese toys are so much more awkward than the American equivalent, which are probably a little bit more unique as well. I mean, Japan doesn't focus a lot on STEM toys, but they do have a lot of craft toys that I'm kind of impressed by, which I'd like to talk about one of these days because the other day, my second child for Christmas, he got like this felt sewing machine and it was pretty cool. But yeah, in general, I do want to talk a little bit more about my main focus of my life, which just has kind of shifted from stationery at this point. And yeah, I do want to kind of share bits and hacks of what I do in general. And, it might not just be my kids because I like Disney a lot. And ever so often we just kind of hyperspasm about Disney related stuff in this house as well. So those are some of the things I do want to talk about as we go along with life, I guess. So yeah, this is just basically that update that I'm putting up at the very end of this year and hoping to catch you guys again next year. I do want to post a little bit more. So yeah, hopefully I'll catch you guys again. Bye.